Hey everybody, this is Mike Cristancho from thedigitalpm.com, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Magento Certified Solution Specialist exam. I have on the website a version of the exam prep and study guide, and I've gotten a few requests from people that would love to have it in digital format because they follow along a lot better that way. There's more content, there's more insight, etc. I've had quite a few requests for it. So ultimately, I aim to please, and I'm going to switch this over to a YouTube series. So look out for all the questions. I'll be answering those in depth, so that should be pretty lengthy. I think there's about 89, 90 questions on the study guide, so I aim to go through all of those where possible. So we'll go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, I want to give a quick overview to the Magento Certified Solution Specialist exam. Ultimately, it's an exam for business professionals. So finally, there's something out there that can prove the expertise of people on the platform besides developers. So currently, they have the front-end developer exam, developer, and then developer plus. Those range for beginners up to mid-level up to senior developers, but there hasn't been anything for us business professionals. So to this point, Magento has not released it, and in 2014 they actually got down to business and released this exam for us. So that's great news. Overall, the exam is designed to test your knowledge of Magento Community 1.8. So at the time of making these videos, 1.9 has been released and is the common version that's out there. But when they wrote the exam, it was on 1.8. So that's kind of where they're staying. I have heard through the grapevine that there may be a few things on 1.9 in there, but for the most part, Magento themselves say that it's 1.8. Same thing for Enterprise. It's one version behind. Currently, the latest version of the single dot release, or the Magento 1 version, is 1.14. However, they claim that most of the test is 1.13. So just be aware that there may be a few things in there between the versions, but Magento themselves claim that 1.13 is the way. The exam is also designed to test the knowledge of e-commerce trends. So if you are not a professional that keeps up with the latest and greatest, what's happening, the pros, the cons, the threats, all the things that are out there, you're going to need to kind of hit the pavement and learn some of those things. And ultimately, they want to test typical merchant issues and requests. So Magento's goal is market share. They want people to come to the platform and stay on the platform, continue to grow, whether that's through community or enterprise. So they want to test your knowledge of e-commerce, but specifically Magento merchant issues and requests. So overall, the people that should take this test, project and account managers for sure, business analysts, QA testers, UX and web designers, e-commerce consultants, and even merchants can take this. So if you're on the merchant side, and you have an e-commerce manager or somebody in that role, it definitely helps to take the exam, I would say, because it opens up your eyes to all the features within Magento as well as how to leverage them. And if you're using Magento Enterprise and paying $20,000 a year, you want to be leveraging the feature set. So I think this forces you in a way to step out of your comfort zone and really unleash the power of Magento. So overall, what is a certified solution specialist? I got my specialist exam results in 2014. I missed a couple, and I'll be the first one to say it was harder than I thought it was going to be. Ultimately, you have to really dive into the features that you don't use on the daily basis to really do well here, and I'll be the first one to tell you that. So overall, the goal and intention of the exam is to really define who's the expert and who's the front of the line in the Magento community. Who knows their stuff, who knows the platform. It's a digital e-commerce professional with deep knowledge of business as well. So not just technology, not just Magento, but they do ask some just typical business related questions and how-tos. It's an efficiency expert. So there's, especially in Magento 1, there's about 12 ways to do one thing. And Magento definitely knows that. So they have in their user guide the recommended way of doing things where possible. And they definitely test around that. They want somebody who's efficient. If you can do it in 3 steps, don't create a process to do it in 7. That's their goal. And lastly, a certified solution specialist is someone that's dedicated to learning and someone who ultimately wants to hone their craft. Somebody who wants to be the best at what they're doing, the best at showing merchants that they invest the time and effort to take this exam, pass this exam, pay for the exam, and ultimately take that next step in their career. A little bit about the exam. It's a computer-based test, so it is multiple choice. 66 multiple choice questions. However, 6 of those are thrown out. The 6 that are thrown out are typically the questions that Magento tries to phase in. So as I mentioned before, they said that 1.8 and 1.13 are what people are going to be testing on. However, those 6 questions give Magento a way to phase in a few questions, see how people do, and gauge where they're at in the marketplace in terms of adding a few things in from the latest version. So those 6 are usually thrown out. It's the same for everybody that takes the test. As far as I know, of the 66 multiple choice questions, you need to go through and make sure that you have a passing score. You have about 90 minutes to complete the exam. You can't leave, I wouldn't say you can't leave the testing area, but you definitely need to focus. You can't take any materials. It's done in a professional test. So like Prometrics, if you've ever heard of Prometrics, they handled the exam when I took it. And ultimately you may have to travel to find one of their facilities, but they take it very, very seriously. So you're not allowed to take any hard copies in, not your laptop, not anything. You basically sit in a room in a cubicle with somebody watching you and you take the exam. So you'll want to make sure you're prepared to just go right in there and knock it out. And like I said, version 1.8 and 1.13. So be aware, there are going to be some things on the test that stump you, some things that you're not prepared for. I'm going to try to help with that, with this series. So hopefully it helps you out and you can expect the unexpected. But don't freak out if there's something you don't know. Just skip it and come back to it. That's what I did. So lastly, just a little bit about the exam in terms of the contents. They test general e-commerce knowledge. This is anything from general user experience, laws, regulations, just overall merchandising of an online store, security. Those type high-level things will be very important. Magento architecture, this is the one that's probably a little daunting for you that are just pure project or account managers that don't dive into code and haven't seen how Magento works. They do cover layouts and themes, data flows and models, things like that. And the differences between Enterprise Edition and Community Edition. So this is where I spend a majority of my time learning, I would say, is in the Magento architecture. And I was kind of sad to see that there wasn't a lot of beef there on the exam. So I would say that I spent more time than I needed there. But I didn't feel comfortable. I didn't feel extremely comfortable with how Magento thinks about its code structure and database structure and things like that. So I definitely pushed the envelope. Elements of a Magento site is the next piece. This you should be very, very comfortable. This is the use of Magento. This is the features, this is the catalog, shopping cart, payment, shipping, checkout, all of those things that are in Magento that you use on a daily basis. It will ask you how to leverage that. How to create promo rules, how to create customers and segments and groups and exporting content and extensions. Everything that you've used on a daily basis will be in there. I'm guessing of this section you probably know the most about this. And lastly is how to reach goals using Magento, and this is within business. So within a merchant, they ask typical application questions such as, client X needs, Y amount of features. How would you go about doing these things? So it's mapping those requests to the features in Magento and the best way to do it. And this is where it goes back to efficiency. They want the most effective way and the most efficient way to do it. Even though there might be 32 different answers. So next steps. So ultimately, the next step for you is to subscribe. I really want people to subscribe. I want people to follow along. I'll be releasing these videos habitually and going through. You can follow me on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Just look up the Digital PM. Again, my name is Mike Cristancho, and you can find me at digitalpm.com. And I am signing off for today, but hopefully if you guys have any specific questions on the general overview of the exam, let me know in the comments, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good one. Talk to you later.